My
I
guns
took
haven't.
one.
My gun models haven't loaded yet, by the way. So it just looks like you guys are doing
Oh my
nothing.
god.
Do you remember your adolescence? When the world first started opening up to you?
Joey.
When it felt like you'd do anything? How'd you spend those days? I spent mine doing this. Yep. For our 20th video, I'm gonna cover a project that my cousins, my brother, and I all contributed to. One of us all together and let's be creative. Yep. I'm finally gonna talk about it. Tom Speed. Now, what is Tom Speed? Well, have y'all heard of Cap and Jazz? Yeah, the Midwest emo supergroup that spawned many influential bands after its fall. Tom Speed's like that, but less important. We all had YouTube channels before Tom Speed, but being Tom Speed taught us what real content should feel like and the joys of creation. Tom Speed was my brother's channel. In fact, it was my idea originally, and that's why it's here. I was supposed to be the host of Tom Speed videos, but my computer wasn't strong enough. I had like a 2010 Intel dual-core chip. I couldn't do anything on it. Then my brother sat in with his beautiful ThinkPad E570, and what a beauty it is. And now it's... Anyway, in its original run, it's about the cousins playing games with each other. By the way, let me introduce the cousins. We obviously had Tom, the group's leader. The one who made every session interesting with his ideas and tangents. And then we had me, the group's straight man. I was also like really good at Trader Town then, so... And then we had John, the group's funny man. John was the first person to have a YouTube channel. He went by Jan Inspector Ray Izor, and he uploaded Roblox screen recordings. If you remember the brothers' retrospective video, it's the same John. Now, John had a peculiar habit of not speaking well, and that's not the worst computer of us all. But that's part of his charm. And then we come to Tony. Oh boy, where do I start with this king? Tony had all the charisma. If he walked into a room, everyone would shout, Bellissimo! Tony's probably 10 Johns, 3 me's, and 2 Toms in pure aura. Can't tell he's my favorite cousin. Oh yeah, and Brian was there too. Well, I don't have much to say about him. He's always a gamble. Anyway, we'd all play Trader Town together. A Roblox clone of Trouble in Terrorist Town. We all love murder mystery games, but Trader Town was a step above. Its pure polish and quality were unmatched for the time, and we loved it. So, that's how the channel started. Now, to emphasize the brilliance of Tom Speed, we had to go through each episode step by step, chronologically, to understand what was happening at the time. So, let's get into it. And here we are, the beginning of Tom Speed, Trader Town Episode 1, A New Beginning. Now, before we get into the video, I need to talk about the creation process, because it was a mess. The cousins as a unit started sometime during the summer before Tom Speed began. I vividly remember our first call together during COVID. We were playing Minecraft Bedrock Edition with each other and had a blast. This laid the foundation for Tom Speed's conception. Now, remember I said the channel was sort of the first iteration of Tom Speed? Yeah. Miniature was supposed to be my side channel to a channel I don't want to talk about because it's too embarrassing. And my plan was to upload Roblox content here instead of there. Now, the funny thing is, I've had to come out to making Roblox content, and the channel has been a Roblox channel for most of its life. But that's besides the point, because now, we just filmed our first video. Yep, from 2 weeks of sessions and buying my brother a better microphone midway through, we finally had enough footage to make a substantive first video. Hold on, wait a minute. Hello? What do you mean we lost the footage? Uh-huh. My brother told me that while I was editing the video at like 2 AM, he began deleting his clips while I was rendering in DaVinci Resolve. This was a fatal mistake. This was it. Our weeks of footage and his hours editing, all gone because of a simple mistake. My brother once told me that he wanted to give up on Tom Speed then, but there was hope. Because I asked him the day before to send me the footage reel so I could review the video. This footage reel was essentially episode 1 but without any of the text. The first episode was saved, and good thing it was because wow, this was an amazing start. The intro is the Badger song. Why? I don't know, my brother liked it at the time. It sets a silly and whimsical mood for the series, which is just what I needed. This is in stark contrast to the cousins' previous projects. We're taking ourselves too seriously led to the creation of a boring and melodramatic series. So the Badger song opening the series is an amazing stylistic choice. And then we cut to Tom's commentary. These are a distinct part of Tom Speed's style. These simple title cards are idiosyncratic of Tom Speed videos, and Beethoven's Ode to Joy theme accompanies them. Let's talk about this. Ode to Joy is Beethoven's gift to humanity. His call for fraternity and unity amongst all people. A celebration of human connection and camaraderie. The inclusion of Ode to Joy here is brilliant. It's a celebration of the channel's life and the strength of the cousins. Now, my brother included all the joy because of the symbolic meaning, or they just think it sounded nice? Guess. And then we get the first gag of the series. The loading screen gag. Remember when I said that John had a bad computer? Yeah. I don't think you know how bad it was. For context, the first session was 15 minutes long, and John appears in the last minute. So it took him 14 minutes to join us on Roblox. So you can imagine how actually playing the game was for him. We're also introduced to the first major map of the series. Winter House. An Arctic mansion with 2 main sections and a bridge or 2. Winter House is my favorite map because it's really well designed. The map's not so big that finding others is annoying, and the traps are well integrated into the map. It was also the first map I played on, so maybe I'm biased. Anyway, the second joke of the series is introduced a few seconds later. Pacifism. Haha, yeah. In a gun game. Of course. I'm in the background trying to start my own gag about, my grandma's cremation. Most of the first session is establishing gags, actually. Once a traitor, always a traitor? Do you want to be my friend? And the gassing were all great gags. But none of them compared to one moment in this episode.
No, put your gun out. Alright, no, put it away.
Yeah.
Alright, so who is most likely to be traitor?
You can hold the C4?
That's the jihad bomb.
Now, summarizing all the gags would be unproductive. So, let's talk about the impact of episode 1. To me, this was the perfect intro to the channel. I've already talked about the symbolic significance of some of its elements, but A New Beginning does a great job at introducing viewers to the cousins' dynamics. Tom's clever jokes and initiative, John's impulsive and brazen reactions, my mischievous lighthearted scheming, and Tony's effortless and pervasive cool. All the personalities really mesh well in Cherry Town's chaotic environment. And people noticed. Now, obviously, I don't have screenshots of the channel from when it started, but oddly, we had 2 people from China watching our content. I guess uploading at 2 PM really helps. You know what? Why don't we make a chart showing how much I enjoyed each episode? Episode 1 is solid, and it easily gets a 10 from me because it's a perfect introduction to the cousins. And given the background and the fact that it almost didn't happen, I'm happy that this is how the channel began. Of course, the natural follow-up is, what's next? How are we gonna top such a good first episode? Well, I'll just show you how.
Oh, I just heard the sounds too.
Yeah, I was good enough to get the first montage of the series. My montage was set to Radiohead's The Bends, a song lamenting their quick rise to fame and their newfound insecurities as a band. Now, did I choose this song to foreshadow the eventual downfall of— No. It was just a song I liked at the time. And also, Tony was really good at Cherry Town too because he played Valorant then. Scary times. And he also got a mini montage along with Brian. Overall, episode 2 was much better than episode 1, but it benefits from its brevity. It doesn't meander too long and has some great moments in it. The cousins were all motivated to create entertaining content after how well the first episode turned out. And we had some real momentum, mostly because we're actually having fun. Episode 2 is an amazing follow-up to A New Beginning, and I enjoyed it almost as much as I enjoyed the original. Though, it's not as iconic as the original. If episode 1 is a 10, then episode 2 is like a 9. What a great run! How can we top these two? Wait, hold on. What's that? Variety? Yep. Town Speed wasn't a Cherry Town exclusive channel. Sadly, the cousins played 2 games in this episode. Ray's Mod, where we played the zombie survival mode, and the classic Roblox card battle. The Ray's Mod section is literally filler. John isn't even with us during the session because the computer couldn't load the game in time. So, let's focus on the Roblox card battle segment. Look, I love Roblox card battle. It's the first Roblox game I remember playing with the cousins, and even in its broken and unmaintained state, it still manages to be a ton of fun with others. Though, the issue with the Roblox card battle segment in the Variety episodes is that it's unedited. Yep, literally just raw footage from our session. Listen, I know Roblox card battles are hard to edit for and make a video around, but leaving the footage untouched is kinda just unacceptable. I don't really know how you'd edit Roblox card battle footage, but it doesn't feel like a Town Speed video. And generally that's how I feel about the episode during Town Speed's run. It was just a holdout until our next episode. I didn't enjoy the Variety episode. I just left a comment about it 3 years ago. Huh. Oh, how wrong I was. Let's check out that 3rd episode. Hearts of Murder, huh? Sounds like a fun time. Unfortunately, no. This is the beginning of the end of Town Speed. I guess it can't all be winners. Remember I praised episode 1 for its amazing display of the cousins' group dynamic? Yeah. Throw it out the window because Tony brought his friend along. Jason. Now, I don't think about Jason as a person. I'm sure he's a great guy, but he definitely shifts the group's dynamic during the episode and it shows. Though, that doesn't mean episodes devoid of any good moments. me hawking my brother out as a traitor, Tom's clean sweep, John's absolutely abysmal performance, and who can forget our first time on Wasteland. Though, I still don't think that this is an amazing episode. It's an alright follow-up to the first two, but you can tell that we're beginning to run out of steam. And hey, with 3 more episodes, that's not a good look. Also, this is the first episode to include an outro I wrote. It's an alright song, but now it's iconic. Let's put episode 3 here. Oh, and let's rank episode 4 too, since there's nothing interesting I can remember about it. Episode 5 opens with a Squatsica? What? This is where John's soda gag starts, which is personally one of my favorites. Oh god, I actually made a fake Yelp review for his drink station. What the hell? I've never used Yelp before. Oh, and we saw my younger cousins.
That was just hugging Andy
No, it
really.
wasn't.
There was not just a
What?
hug. Okay, keep going.
It wasn't hugging. No, Jonathan was
Keep going,
behind
keep going.
Andy, right?
Yeah, I remember. He was just, I don't know, trying to.
I think it's John.
Hump.
Wait, do you remember the humping, John? John? Do you
Yeah, I
remember-
tried to tell you that. I tried to tell you that about the humping.
Wait, didn't I stop you when that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you stopped me.
I was like, no, let them do it.
Epic
Let them love each other.
drama content.
The "Want to Be My Friend" gag returns, and it ends like all friendships. And then the Mafia arc begins. The context behind this is that Tom watched the entire Godfather series. Yep. All 9 hours of it. The Mafia arc is a 6-round long arc, but the first 5 rounds don't even start because we kept on killing each other. And then we talk about Lil Nas X in the 6th one. Yeah, we deserve dying then. The finale is really funny though. Tom has a mental breakdown because he fails his job on time, and his one slip leads to his downfall. It's just like an Arthur Miller play. Episode 5 is an amazing return to form for the series, and definitely ranks higher than the rest of the later episodes. And now we're here. The last episode of Tom Speed's initial run. Episode 6, Way of the Ninja. This is the only episode to have a cutaway. Yep, this is a segment. My brother recorded audio for the segment in 1 take. Also, we talk about John's breakfast, and it does sound horrible even now. And of course, John fights for his montage too, and spectacularly fails. So, overall, this episode's alright. It definitely doesn't feel like the final episode of the series. So, what happened? Why did Tom Speed break up? Well, there are multiple factors that led to its end. John and I always butted heads and didn't really get along. Tony stopped showing up to sessions, and most important of all, Tom went to college. And that's really what caused the channel's downfall. He just didn't have time to edit and produce videos for the channel, and it really wasn't worth it anyway. Tom Speed's a time capsule, and messing with memories is a dangerous game. Where do I start with you? Oh boy, this mess. Let me explain the context behind this thing. A year after Tom Speed ended, Tom found a ton of unused Tom Speed footage which would have been used in a hypothetical episode 7. Then, he had an idea. For Nam's birthday, why not release one last Tom Speed episode? But Tom was too busy with college, and living life. So, he decided to give the footage to John for editing. That was a mistake. First of all, John managed to finish a third of the episode. He had a month to edit it, but he procrastinated. So Tom had to finish the video. Also, John edited all the audio first and then decided to begin editing the video for some reason. I don't know why that was his workflow, but then Tom had to finish the last 2/3 of the episode with John's audio. And that was again, a mistake. How do I describe it? Generic. This just isn't Tom Speed. It feels like what it is. A collection of scrap clips outsourced to an out-of-touch editor. I know that was supposed to be my birthday present then, but I absolutely hate this video. It's just horrible in all aspects. The editing is atrocious. The clip section is bad, and it reminded me of a bad time in my life. Remember, Tom Speed ended for a reason. Those last sessions were miserable for me, and I lashed out a lot during them. This episode is genuinely horrible. Watching it is genuinely difficult, but I didn't want the series to end like this. It felt wrong for the last episode of Tom Speed to be this plasticine. So, I talked to Tom and gave him more clips I recovered from the Tom Speed days. To be specific, unused clips from episode 3 and 4. So, I began editing. Now, this is around the same time that the Adventure video came out. So of course a lot of influence from Adventure seeps into the video. But, and not to toot my own horn, I still stuck to the style of Tom Speed. And episode 8 feels right at home with the first 2 episodes of the series. Now, the first rendition of episode 8 was much more cynical than the released version. I remember having a bad day when I finished that episode, so a lot of the last few slides were unnecessarily hostile. Luckily, I had my brother review it, and he asked me, is this really how I want to end Tom Speed? That really opened my mind. I revised it the day after to what it is now, and it feels like the perfect ending to the Tom Speed era. It calls back to the first episode of the series, with jokes, interactions, and vibes all hark back to a time when we were all happy to hang out with each other every weekend and play together. It emphasizes the strength of our family ties and the importance of the cousins in my life. So, where are the cousins now? Well, Brian and Tony don't make content anymore. Brian's a more serious gamer, and Tony has so much riz when he walks through Target. Like, everyone knows him. John's still making content, but he's reworking The Brothers, which... ooh. And, you know, I have Minidrig. But most importantly, how's Tom doing? Exceptionally well. College is going great for him, and he's found a new passion in computers and computer science and engineering, but yeah. And to me, Talonspeed's beautiful. I love Talonspeed. It's the linchpin for my content now. It's where I learned how to create content. And the fact that the cousins could meet every week to play games with each other was an amazing time. So, this is my final goodbye to Talonspeed. Thank you for the memories, and thank you for helping me learn how to make content. Goodbye, everyone.